For the 1960 Soviet film based on this opera, see Khovanshchina. Khovanshchina is an opera in 5 acts by Modest Mussorgsky. Khovansky Gate, the name given to a 2014 production in Birmingham, UK, is a modern equivalent. The work was written between 1872 and 1880 in St. Petersburg, Russia. The composer wrote the libretto based on historical sources. The opera was unfinished and unperformed when the composer died in 1881. Like Mussorgsky's earlier Boris Godunov, Khovanshchina deals with an episode in Russian history, first brought to the composer's attention by his friend the critic Vladimir Stasov. It concerns the rebellion of Prince Ivan Khovansky, the Old Believers, and the Muscovite Streltsy against the regent Sophia Alexeyevna and the 2 young Tsars Peter the Great and Ivan V, who were attempting to institute westernizing reforms in Russia. Khovansky had helped to foment the Moscow Uprising of 1682, which resulted in Sophia becoming regent on behalf of her younger brother Ivan and half-brother Peter, who were crowned joint Tsars. In the fall of 1682, Prince Ivan Khovansky turned against Sophia, supported by the Old Believers and the Streltsy. Khovansky, who supposedly wanted to install himself as the new regent, demanded the reversal of Patriarch Nikon's reforms. Sophia and her court were forced to flee Moscow. Eventually, Sophia managed to suppress the so-called Khovanshchina with the help of the diplomat Fyodor Sheklovity, who succeeded Khovansky as leader of the Muscovite Streltsy. With the rebellion crushed, the Old Believers committed mass suicide. Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov completed, revised, and scored Khovanshchina in 1881 to 1882. Because of his extensive cuts and recomposition, Dmitry Shostakovich revised the opera in 1959 based on Mussorgsky's vocal score, and it is the Shostakovich version that is usually performed. In 1913, Igor Stravinsky and Maurice Ravel made their own arrangement at Sergei Diaghilev's request. When Fyodor Chalyapin refused to sing the part of Dosifei in any other orchestration than Rimsky-Korsakov's, Diaghilev's company employed a mixture of orchestrations which did not prove successful. The Stravinsky-Ravel orchestration was forgotten, except for Stravinsky's finale, which is still used. Although the background of the opera comprises the Moscow Uprising of 1682 and the Khovansky affair a few months later, its main themes are the struggle between progressive and reactionary political factions during the minority of Tsar Peter the Great and the passing of Old Muscovy before Peter's westernizing reforms. It received its first performance in the Rimsky-Korsakov edition in 1886. History. Compositional history. Performance history. The St. Petersburg world premiere took place on 21 February 1886 using the Rimsky-Korsakov version. Also in St. Petersburg on 27 October 1893, the opera was presented by artists of the Russian Opera Society. The Russian Private Opera presented the Moscow premiere at the Solodovnikov Theatre on 12 November 1897, conducted by Michel Esposito, with scene designs by Konstantin Korovin, Apollonary Vasilitsov, and Sergei Malyutin. There were 1910 and 1911 productions in the 2 cities, the first by the Zimin Opera in Moscow and conducted by Palitz and scenes by Maturin, while the second was at St. Petersburg's Mariinsky Theatre and conducted by Albert Coates. Khovanshchina reached the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées in Paris in 1913, where Emile Couper conducted a Diaghilev production, in a new orchestration written collaboratively by Igor Stravinsky and Maurice Ravel. Because Fyodor Chalyapin was unwilling to sing Dosifei in any orchestration other than Rimsky-Korsakov's, the Parisians heard a hybrid version which proved unsuccessful, and this orchestration was forgotten. Only the finale, which was composed by Stravinsky, has survived and was published in 1914. It occasionally replaces Dmitri Shostakovich's finale in some productions, such as Claudio Abado's 1989 production in Vienna. Also in 1913, it was presented in London at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. It was produced in New York for the first time in 1931. The Shostakovich version, in Pavel Lamb's edition, was first presented on 25 November 1960 at the Kirov Theatre, conducted by Sergei Yeltsin with sets designed by Fedorovsky. Khovanshchina was not staged by New York's Metropolitan Opera until 1950, although excerpts were performed by the Met as early as 1919. The 1950 production was sung in English and featured Rhys Stevens as Marfa and Lawrence Tibbett as Dosifei. The sets and costumes were designed by the Russo-Lithuanian artist Mstislav Dobujinsky. That production received only 4 performances in 1950, and the Met did not stage Khovanshchina again until 1985, this time in Russian. The new production was staged by August Everding, designed by Ming-Cho Lee, and used the Shostakovich orchestration, with Marti Talvela as Dosifei and Natalia Rom as Emma. It has since been revived several times at the Met, most recently in a 2012 run, during which Stravinsky's final scene was employed there for the first time. Performances of Khovanshchina by visiting Russian companies have also appeared at the Met. More recently, it was performed by Welsh National Opera in both Wales and England, as well as at the Bayerische Staatsoper in Munich under Kent Nagano in 2007. Khovanshchina is not seen on stage often outside Russia, but it has been recorded complete 23 times, including 7 videos. Roles. Mussorgsky refers to Marfa as a contralto in a letter to Vladimir Stasov on 16 January 1876. Varsonovyev's part is written in the bass clef in his Act 2 appearance, as expected for a bass or baritone, but it is written in the treble clef in his Act 4 appearance, as expected for a tenor. Instrumentation. Rimsky-Korsakov edition. Strings. Violins I, violins II, violas, cellos, double basses, woodwinds, 3 flutes, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets, 2 bassoons, brass, 4 horns, 2 trumpets, 3 trombones, 1 tuba, percussion, timpani, bass drum, snare drum, triangle, tambourine, cymbals, tam-tam, bells, other, piano, harp, on, off stage, 3 trumpets, wind band, Shostakovich orchestration, strings, violins I, violins II, violas, cellos, double basses, woodwinds, 3 flutes, 3 oboes, 3 clarinets, 3 bassoons, brass, 4 horns, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, 1 tuba, percussion, timpani, bass drum, snare drum, triangle, tambourine, cymbals, tam-tam, bells, glockenspiel, other, piano, harp, celesta, on, off stage, unspecified numbers of horns, trumpets, trombones. Historical basis of the plot. The death of the young Tsar Fyodor III has left Russia with a crisis of succession. Supported by Prince Ivan Khovansky, Fyodor's sickly brother Ivan, who is 16, and his half-brother Peter, who is only 10, have been installed as joint rulers, with their older sister Sophia acting as regent. Sophia has allied herself with Prince Vasily Golitsyn, a powerful courtier and liberal politician, who is also her alleged lover. Due to regulations applicable at the time of the composition of the opera in Imperial Russia, it was forbidden to portray members of the Romanov dynasty on stage, so Mussorgsky had recourse to a series of symbols and indirect mention of main characters in the plot. Sophia, Ivan and Peter never actually appear on stage. The principal theme of Khovanshchina is stated outright in the choral number, AKH, Ty Rodnaya, Matyushka Rus. which laments that Russia is bleeding and dying not because of a foreign enemy, but because of fragmentation within. Something like a three-way civil war is in progress, which basically compresses 12 years of Russian history into one telling. The Tsarist court is modernizing, and two powerful forces are resisting these changes: the Streltsy and the Old Believers. The Streltsy are decommissioned elite soldiers, guards, past their prime and on indefinite furlough. They are fanatically loyal to Prince Ivan Khovanshchina. The Old Believers are Russian Orthodox Christians who have left the state-sponsored church because they disagree with the Patriarch Nikon's reforms. They also challenge the line of succession to the throne and have refused to recognize the Russian Patriarch. Their leader is Dosify. Fortunately for Peter, these two factions despise each other, as the Streltsy are rowdy degenerates and the Old Believers are pious ascetics. Each of the three principal bases in the opera believes himself to represent the true Russia against her internal enemies: Prince Ivan Khovanshchina by noble birth and military prowess, Dosify by religion, and Khovanshchina by supporting Tsar Peter. Synopsis Time. The year 1682. Place: Moscow. In some performances and recordings of the opera some segments are deleted, depending on the interpretation of the original notes, which are described in brackets. Act 1 Moscow, Red Square. In the morning in the Red Square, Strelets sings his drunkenness off while two other Streltsy talk about their activities the night before, where they have tortured and killed a German scribe. As a scribe arrives they all pick on him and then leave. Khovanshchina, a boyar and agent for the regent and the Tsars, enters and dictates to him a letter to the court, warning of a rebellion planned by Prince Ivan Khovanshchina and the Old Believers. After finishing the letter he warns the scribe not to repeat what he heard. The crowd enters and they force the scribe to read a new proclamation that has been published in the public square, which describes the atrocities committed by the Streltsy. The crowd laments the state of Russia. Prince Ivan Khovanshchina enters promising an adoring crowd that he will defend the young Tsars. He and the crowd exit. Prince Andrei, Khovanshchina's son, chases in Emma, a German girl, intending to assault her after he has had her father murdered and fiancé deported from Russia. Marfa, an Old Believer and Andrei's former fiancé, interferes. Andrei threatens to kill Marfa, but Prince Ivan returns and decides to capture Emma himself. The ensuing quarrel between father and son is interrupted by the arrival of Dosify, the leader of the Old Believers. Dosify berates everyone for being so quarrelsome and unchristian and asks them all to join the Old Believers into reuniting Russia. Prince Ivan Khovanshchina leaves with Prince Andrei Khovanshchina. Marfa leaves with Emma. Dosify is left alone praying for the future of Russia. Act 2 Summer study of Prince Vasily Golitsyn. Golitsyn, a nervous progressive nobleman and lover of Tsarevna Sophia, reads letters from his lover and his mother, who warns him to keep himself pure. A German Lutheran pastor enters to complain of the murder of one of the scribes in his community by the Streltsy and Prince Andrei Khovanshchina's pursuit of Emma. Prince Golitsyn tries to appease the pastor and offers some form of political advantage that the pastor promises to collect later. Although Golitsyn flatly refuses to let him build another church, then the prince wonders about the true motives behind the pastor's actions. The prince hires Marfa to tell his fortune in secret. She predicts that he will fall from power and face exile. He dismisses her and orders his servant to kill her. Once alone he ponders on all the acts that he has made to advance Russia, but is interrupted when Prince Ivan Khovanshchina enters without being announced. Prince Khovanshchina complains that Golitsyn has been interfering with his friends in the nobility and diminishing the privileges of nobility and states. That only Tartars believe that all men are equal and questions whether Russia shall become Tartarized. A quarrel ensues. each making insulting remarks about the other's military campaigns, but Dosify enters and draws their attention away from their argument by criticizing both of them. Golitsyn for his modern views, and Prince Ivan for letting the Streltsy get drunk and run around making trouble all the time. In the discussion with Dosify, it turns out that he was once Prince Myshetsky who renounced all worldly matters, to which Prince Ivan Khovanshchina says that a prince must die a prince. Marfa comes back. There has been an attempt on her life, but she was saved by the Petrovsky. After her enters Sheklovity, who menacingly announces that the Tsar has been warned of the planned rebellion and has issued orders to arrest the Princess Khovanshchina. Act 3. The Streltsy Quarter, south of the Moscow River, as old believers chant a hymn for the future of Russia. Marfa sings of her lost love for Prince Andrei Khovanshchina. Susanna, a fellow old believer, scolds Marfa until Dosify appears and drives Susanna away. Marfa admits to Dosify that she still loves Prince Andrei Khovanshchina. Dosify tells her to pray for relief. They exit, and Sheklovity, who until now had been presented as a purely threatening character, sings a haunting prayer for troubled Russia's protection from the Streltsy and from the rebellious powers they obey. Hearing them coming, he exits. Some of the Streltsy enter and sing a drinking chorus, followed by their wives who scold them about their drinking. The soldiers ask Kouzka to help them with their wives. He ends up organizing an entire celebration with all the Streltsy and their women. The scribe arrives and informs them that Tsar Peter's troops have initiated an attack on Streltsy Russian soldiers. The Streltsy call their leader Prince Ivan Khovanshchina, who enters and begs their forgiveness for declining to lead them into retaliation. The new Tsar is very powerful, he explains, and the time of power is over. Act 4, Scene 1. A richly furnished chamber in Prince Ivan Khovanshchina's palace. Prince Ivan Khovanshchina is being entertained by the women in his retinue, but they're interrupted by a servant of Golitsyn who has come to warn him that he is in danger. Prince Ivan Khovanshchina ignores the warning and has the messenger flogged. He orders his Persian slaves to dance for him. Sheklovity enters and tells him that Tsar of Sofia is asking personally for his help in the Duma. As Prince Ivan Khovanshchina leaves while hearing chants in his honor, he is killed. Sheklovity scornfully imitates the servant's song over the prince's corpse. Scene 2. Moscow. The square before the Cathedral of Vasily the Blessed. Prince Golitsyn is led into exile. Dosify mourns the conspirators' downfall and the success of Tsar Peter, and learns that the Imperial Council has decreed that the Old Believers are next. He discusses with Marfa that an everlasting example must be set by the Old Believers and agree that they shall immolate themselves. Prince Andrei Khovanshchina enters and confronts Marfa about where she hid Emma, but Marfa tells him that she is safely on her way back to Germany. Her father and fiancé, Prince Andrei Khovanshchina, threatens that he will have her burnt as a witch and calls for the Streltsy with his horn, but instead a menacing sound is heard. Marfa offers sanctuary to Prince Andrei Khovanshchina with the Old Believers after she tells him of his father's murder. The Streltsy are led to their execution. Tsar Peter, through an agent, intervenes to pardon them. Act 5. A pine forest, a secluded monastery. A moonlit night, Dosify and his followers have taken refuge in a hermitage in the forest. Although he is weighed down by the sorrows and sufferings of the brethren, he remains defiant and determined to win a crown of glory in fire and flame. He exhorts the brethren to don white clothing and light candles, preparing for immolation. They enter the hermitage. Prince Andrei Khovanshchina enters, singing of his lost love, still seeking Emma. Marfa sings to him, reminding him of their own love, and assuring him that she will not leave him. Dosify and the brethren return, dressed in white and carrying candles. They build a funeral pyre. Off-stage trumpet calls herald the approach of Tsar Peter's soldiers. Marfa sings to Andrei of the hopelessness of their situation. The trumpet calls sound again. Dosifi exhorts the brethren to remain strong one last time. Marfa lights the pyre. The schismatics sing a final hymn. As Dosifi, Marfa, Prince Andrei Khovanshchina, and the Old Believers pairs in the flames, Tsar Peter's Preobrazhensky soldiers arrive in a vain attempt to capture them. Mussorgsky's original vocal score remained unfinished. The final portion of the libretto must be reconstructed from Mussorgsky's themes. The Rimsky-Korsakov edition adds to the final hymn figures representing flames, trumpet fanfares, and a final reprise of the March of the Preobrazhensky Regiment. That concludes Act 4. The Stravinsky version of the finale follows Mussorgsky's notes more closely regarding the key of the chant and that the ending must fade away. Principal arias and numbers. Scene 1, Red Square Introduction. Dawn on the Moscow River. Chorus. Make a wide path for the White Swan. Chorus. Glory to the White Swan. Scene 2, Golitsyn's Study Aria. Marfa's Divination, Mysterious Powers. Scene 3, Streltsa Quarter Song. A Maiden Wandered. Aria. The Streltsina Sleeps. Scene 4, Khovanshchina's Palace Ballet. Dance of the Persian Slaves. Chorus. Show them no mercy. March. March of the Preobrazhensky Regiment. Scene 6, Hermitage Aria. Here, in this holy place, Recordings. Video Public Media, Inc. has published a performance on video conducted by Claudio Abbado, with Nikolai Gierov as Ivan Khovanshchina, Anatoly Kochurga as Shaklor Vati, Pater Bertuladze as Dosifi, Ludmila Samchuk as Marfa, and Heinz Zennik as the scribe. It uses the Shostakovich orchestration, but with a newly composed ending to Act 2 and Stravinsky's finale to Act 5.